Everybody, it's Christy and Wes again with 180 Digital. Welcome back, Wes. How's it going?
Good. Chrissy, how are you?
Good.
Good.
I'm excited today because we're going to look at a little bit at an article that was written last year, Wes, on social media, church invite tips and tools. But we're gonna, I don't know, maybe talk a little bit about Facebook events and groups and stuff. So
Yeah.
let's, I guess, get into it, right?
Yeah.
This article, which we'll make sure that people have access to if they haven't read it yet, was really about helping churches, kind of navigate the uses of social media, like and specific to how to invite people to church and to events. So I thought this was hopefully, I mean, it seems to be helpful to some. It's one of our more popular articles, but we kind of this particular post kind of goes over, how do you create an event, and then what other social media you might want to use to help promote that event, like Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn. But what do you find in the social media realm is really beneficial to churches?
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people, tell churches, they ask me, what do I need to do on social media? Number one step is I said, do something. Okay. So just be involved. Don't completely write it off. I think we found with 2020 happened, a lot of the churches who just had chosen to opt out of social media, then all of a sudden were scrambling just to try to figure out how it worked so that they could connect with their people online. And so, I mean, whether, luckily, Lord willing, that never happens again. But at the same time, just being involved is kind of the first initial step. I always tell people, don't just completely write it off because you feel like, it is what we make of it. So it is a tool that we can use for good. Just as much as it is used for evil, it is a tool that we can use for good. So use it for good. And churches are using it for good and can use it for good. So just being involved is kind of the first step, is what I tell everybody.
I think that's really true. That's a good point. I mean, it's not specific to the article, but it's a really great point that it is a tool, and we might have growing or depleting negative or positive opinions on different platforms, or in general how much time it sucks up in your life, things like that. But to kind of put those things in their place when we're talking about holistically, how do we get people engaged and invited to church, like what let's not write things off just because some people have negative connotations about it. I mean, I may even sometimes have negative opinions on social
Yeah.
media, right? That maybe it can be a time suck and things like that, but it doesn't necessarily negate it where it can be very useful and where it can and really do a lot of good. I think too, people, especially churches, may think, oh, well, I need to be on this platform, but really platforms are very audience different, right? Like,
Yeah.
so Instagram has a different audience than YouTube. YouTube has a different audience than LinkedIn, than Twitter, than Facebook. So there is crossover, of course, but it's really, I think, important to know your church, your congregation, and who is where. So like if a new church might have a lot of growing families, well, they're depending on the age of the families, they're probably on Facebook and Instagram at
Mm-hmm.
least.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, just kind of knowing who your audience is, or who the people in your church, and getting a feel for where they are so that you know where you need to be.
Yeah, and I always say that that needs to be one of the first things you do. You make these decisions with how you, as far as a digital engagement kind of strategy for a church, you initiate that by thinking through, where is your primary audience? Where are they? And you don't want to go somewhere where they're not. You don't want to be invested in some place that they're not. So you need to go exactly where they are. So you got to determine those sorts of things first, which requires forethought, not just jumping into it, but making some decisions about that.
Yeah.
And we all know, I mean, social media changes, it grows, it adapts. And this post really was really good, discussing about how Facebook events, whether can really help churches reach out. And I think that's important to really consider, because there have been a lot of changes to the way that your Facebook feed is shown. It is no longer the most time sensitive. It's, you're not seeing all your friends, because everybody has so many friends now. What they do is they curate that feed to try to show you the most engaging things by the people it thinks that you want to hear from. And so, with creating a Facebook event, for churches, it's important because basically Facebook will prioritize that in people's feeds because it helps them. It wants them to know what their friends are into. So it's mutually beneficial for Facebook to show your event to friends of friends. And so that's a good way to expand your reach as a church without having to use paid advertising on Facebook. Just because the algorithm is automatically going to show them if it has a friend who maybe goes to your church who said, yes, where I'm going to go to this event, it's going to give them the suggestion, hey, this friend is going to this event. Is this something that you're interested in? And then automatically that person who is a friend of a friend, which therefore makes them a, highly likely to participate in an event. Now they get to see that and you haven't paid anything for it. So in some ways it is kind of free advertising.
Yeah, and Facebook specifically is not very. It's not really hiding the fact that it does this. Like it has let it's let its audience and its users know. Like I think it was like 2019. It made some big changes on. It's going to be pushing forward. Letting people know what groups you're in, letting people know what events you're attending, letting people know what videos you're watching, or that you might be interested in. So we know that Facebook is more likely to spread specific types of content, and events and videos and pictures and friend, like you can, especially if you have curated your own friends, because Facebook also is really pushing that. So curating your like top friends. So whatever those top friends are doing, you're going to see. And so, you can really definitely use Facebook's updates to your advantage for sure, especially with events.
Yeah, I mean, the goal of Facebook is to keep you on Facebook. That is their primary purpose. The longer they keep you on Facebook, the more Facebook advertising you see. So that's what they want to do, is they want to keep you invested and involved in Facebook. Now, with that knowledge comes power in your hand, which is basically the power to be able to use the tools that they give us to your advantage for your church. And so whether that is creating an event or, like you mentioned, groups, even Mark Zuckerberg said, groups are kind of the future of Facebook. And so using those groups. So if you have a group, and this is just something to make sure that our kind of audience knows here, is that if you have a group, those posts that you do share to that group are prioritized in the feed. And so the Facebook algorithm will show those posts more, or is more likely to show those posts than just if you post it on your personal profile and maybe you're still friends with that person. And so it is beneficial to be able to have your church in a group, in a Facebook group, as it relates to maybe a Bible study or a leadership group, or or just a general church group. So there's different groups you can create, and then use those as ways to get information out to the people that really need it.
Yeah, I think that I do want to make a distinction here. Maybe some people don't know the difference between a page and a group. So I'm going to take just a moment to explain that real quick. So any business or personality or person can make a page. So like if you're a church, for example, when you go to set up your page, it's very different than setting up a group. So you would set up your page as the business element of the church, putting in the address, putting in how to reach you, contact information, hours, things like that. So Facebook will walk you through, and I think we even have a post that is linked in this post to kind of help you set that up, help set up your page. But a group is not the same thing. So you'd actually need to go set up your page and then also set up a group where you're inviting people in your church to be in the group. And of course, Facebook does have standards that it sets for groups, same as it does for pages, on what general guidelines on speech and things like that. But the groups are really helpful because to your point, it's because it's separate and you can make it private, you can make it public, but it does allow you to be seen fastest and highest ranked by the people who are in those groups.
Yeah, it's one of those tools that Facebook gives us that we can use. And so I'm in a ton of groups, regarding interests of mine. So whether that's, web development or, marketing or church communications, I'm in those groups that talk about that. And I see those posts in my feed all the time. and which I like being able to see those in there. So in the same way, using that to get information out about events and activities, Bible studies, service changes, whatever. I mean, whatever a church needs to post about, it's definitely is a tool that they can use. And really, all of social media is a tool. And to kind of circle back around to kind of what we said at first there, understanding who your audience is, or making a choice to be involved. Number one, two, understanding who your audience is to know what platform is best for you. And then three, I would say before churches go and spread themselves out kind of too thin, to really hone in on one of those platforms and do it well.
Right.
So don't be involved in a platform that you can't really manage well and be active in. That's extremely key, because people are looking for our Facebook going to promote engaging content where people there are responding and commenting and liking and sharing and all those sorts of things. So be a place where you can contribute there. And most likely in most churches, I will say that is Facebook.
Right.
For churches that do trend, towards, Gen Z or some other things like that, there are, Instagram might be that better choice.
Or
So
Twitter,
yeah.
TikTok. I will say Facebook and Instagram are basically the same now. They're like twins. And because they're owned by the same company, and everything is cross-referenced. So if you're on Facebook, it's super easy to also manage your Instagram stuff. I mean, you can literally have the same post go to two places and it's not double work. Same thing. Well, I guess not same thing, but one thing to keep in mind about, which I agree with your message, is don't spread yourself too thin, but things like posting on YouTube doesn't have to be as in-depth or as much work as posting on like Facebook, and you don't really have to think of it in the same way if that's not where your audience is, but having a presence there.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube is a fantastic. Often people don't think about that being a social media network, but it really is. It actually is the second most popular search engine, on the web. So people are on there looking for things, and Google continues to add more social features like stories and things like that to YouTube. They're really developing that social network from within that. So I look for that trend to continue. So, for churches that are looking to invest into a platform, YouTube, and the often thing is YouTube actually spans more generations than, Facebook and Instagram, where those are more siloed in who they target. YouTube, everybody is using YouTube for lots of different reasons and purposes. So, that's a good point to make there, that your audience is on YouTube. I guarantee it. So definitely consider that as an option.
Yeah. Well, I think we covered most of the bases here. If anybody wants to take a look at that, they can go to our 180 digital blogs, and it's called Social Media Church Invite Tips and Tools. We do have some links in there that can help you learn more about the demographics. It can help you just get a better idea of which of the platforms would make sense for you. So yeah, take some time, I guess. I think everybody can take some time to always, at least once a year, reevaluate like who their audience is and where should they be, and has that changed as things continue to change. It's always good to kind of keep an eye on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Things will change. That is a given, and we can understand that now more than ever. So being active and staying on top of it is important. But that's why we're here as 180, to continue to try to put out information and just help churches along with those changes and adapt to that. So if we are here, so if you need help, advice, schedule a free consultation with us. We'll be glad to give you any free information that we have. I mean, we're glad to help in any way that we can. So we would love to do that if you're a church looking for help in this area.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, Wes. Thanks so much for your time, and we hope to see you guys again soon.
Sure thing.